When you come upon this video, you are ready. You may not realize it yet, but something inside you has already begun to shift. It's the reason you found this, right now, in this exact moment. This video didn't come to you by accident. It came because you've reached a quiet edge, the space between who you were and who you're becoming. If you've been feeling lost or stuck or like something deep inside you is quietly breaking apart, listen closely. This is not your end. This is your beginning. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And what you are feeling now, this uncertainty, this ache, this confusion, is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are awakening. You are meeting the turning point, the moment when the old self can no longer contain the truth of who you are meant to be. This is the threshold. This is where real life begins. Because your real life begins where your fear ends. Chapter 1. The breaking. There comes a moment in every life when the walls we've built begin to crack. At first, it feels like failure, like the universe has turned away, and everything that once made sense suddenly collapses under its own weight. You wake up and realize the things you used to chase no longer give you peace. The roles you played no longer fit your skin, and the person you've been pretending to be can't keep carrying the mask. This is the breaking. It often begins quietly, a slow, subtle ache that whispers, "There must be something more." You start to notice how empty success feels, how quiet your laughter has become, how heavy your own reflection looks back at you. Not because you're lost, but because you've outgrown the cage you've been living in. You try to fill it with work, distractions, people, anything that can silence the question rising inside, who am I really? But the more you try to silence it, the louder it becomes. This is not a punishment. This is life calling you inward. It's your soul saying, "Enough pretending, come home." Carl Jung called this moment the call of individuation, the beginning of becoming whole. It's when life dismantles the structures that no longer serve your growth. It's when everything external that gave you identity, career, status, approval, relationships, begins to crumble so you can see what was always hidden beneath it all, yourself. And that realization can be terrifying, because you are standing in the ruins of what you knew, and you can't yet see what's ahead. You only feel the emptiness where your old self once lived. But listen closely, that emptiness is sacred. It's the space creation needs to begin something new. Every great transformation begins in destruction. The seed must split open before it grows. The caterpillar must dissolve into nothing before it becomes a butterfly. And you must let yourself break before you can finally become whole. So, if you are breaking, don't run, don't numb it, don't rush to fix what is meant to unfold. Sit with it, feel it, because right there, in the trembling cracks of your soul, something divine is taking form. You are not losing your way, you are shedding your illusion. You are not falling apart, you are falling into yourself. And maybe for the first time, you are beginning to meet the person you were always meant to be. Let this breaking happen, because in your deepest breakdown lies your greatest breakthrough. If this content resonates with you, hit the like and subscribe button. We really appreciate your support. When everything you thought you were begins to dissolve, you will start to see what can never be destroyed, the unshakable essence that has always been there, waiting for you beneath the noise of life. And when you begin to sense that, you'll know this pain was never your enemy. It was your invitation, an invitation to awaken, an invitation to become. Chapter 2. The Shadow. When the breaking happens and the walls of who you thought you were begin to fall, something else begins to surface, something ancient and quiet and familiar. It doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to be seen. This is the shadow, the part of you that has been waiting in the dark corners of your soul, patiently whispering, "Don't forget me." For years, maybe decades, you've buried pieces of yourself. The anger you weren't allowed to feel, the sadness you were told to hide, the dreams that felt too big to admit, the desires that scared you, the truths you silenced so you could be loved. And every time you said, "It's fine," when it wasn't, a piece of you disappeared into the dark. Every time you smiled to keep the peace, when you wanted to scream, you buried another piece. Every time you tried to be good, to be perfect, to be enough for someone else's expectations, you pushed your real self deeper underground. Until one day, the shadow began to move. It moved through your dreams, your triggers, your fears. It showed up in the people who irritated you, in the mistakes you kept repeating, in the emotions you couldn't explain. And maybe you thought it was life punishing you, but it wasn't. It was life mirroring you. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your shadow is not evil. It is everything you have hidden to survive. It is your unexpressed truth, your repressed passion, your unlived potential. And when you finally turn toward it, when you stop running and look into its eyes, you begin to see something miraculous. The darkness was never trying to destroy you. It was trying to complete you. The world teaches us to chase light, to always be positive, to always move on, to always stay strong. But you cannot be whole if you only live in the light. The moon shines not because it has its own light, but because it reflects the sun. It exists in the balance between light and shadow. And so do you. When you embrace your shadow, you begin to reclaim your power. The anger you were ashamed of turns into boundaries. The sadness you avoided turns into compassion. The fear you ran from becomes intuition. The darkness you denied becomes depth. You start to realize the parts of you you thought were unlovable are the ones that make you real. To meet your shadow is not to fight it. It's to listen. Sit with your fear. Ask it what it needs. Speak to your anger. It might tell you where you've been betrayed. Hold your loneliness. It might reveal the love you've never given yourself. You will begin to see that every emotion is a messenger, not a mistake. Your pain was never your flaw. It was your compass, pointing you back toward yourself. There is a story that the ancient mystics told, that enlightenment is not about ascending into light, but descending into your depths and finding light there. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming real, about gathering all your lost fragments and saying, "You are welcome here." Because healing does not mean turning into something new. It means coming home to what you've always been. So, if you are facing your shadow right now, if old wounds are resurfacing, if fears are louder than ever, if emotions are flooding in that you can't control, don't run. Don't hide. This is not regression. This is revelation. It means you are finally strong enough to hold what you once had to repress. It means you are ready to meet yourself, fully, fearlessly, honestly. The shadow only wants one thing, to be seen without judgment, because the moment you stop fearing it, it transforms. You realize that you were never light or dark. You were always both. And that is what makes you whole. So let this be your quiet revolution, not the kind the world can see, but the kind that happens inside your heart when you finally stop running from yourself. The world outside may still be chaotic, but inside you, a sacred balance begins to return. You start to breathe again. You start to feel again. And somewhere in the distance, a small voice whispers, "You are coming home." Chapter 3, The Turning. There comes a moment after the breaking, after the long nights of silence and shadow, when something subtle begins to change. You can't quite explain it, but the air feels different. The weight in your chest lightens, even if just a little. The tears that once burned your eyes now feel cleansing. And for the first time in a long while, you realize you are still here. This is the turning. The point when pain stops being an enemy and becomes a teacher. When you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to show me?" Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And now you begin to see what he meant. Because through the breaking, through the shadow, you've touched a kind of truth that can't be found in books or words, only in experience. You've looked at your own pain and didn't turn away. You've seen your flaws, your wounds, your patterns. And instead of rejecting them, you began to understand them. That understanding is the first spark of awakening. The turning doesn't happen in one grand moment. It happens quietly. In the morning you get up, even when you still feel heavy. In the breath you take, even when your chest tightens with fear. In the way you start listening to your intuition, even when your mind screams in doubt. It happens in the smallest acts of courage, a decision to try again, to forgive, to let go, to speak your truth softly, to no longer betray yourself for the comfort of others. These are the revolutions that reshape a soul. In the turning, you begin to realize something profound. The things that once broke you were actually shaping you. The pain that felt like punishment was preparation. The loss that hollowed you was making room for truth. And when that understanding takes root, you begin to see beauty even in your scars. Because scars are not proof of weakness, they are proof that you healed. You start to sense something deeper guiding you. It's not logic, it's not noise, it's quiet, like an inner compass that hums beneath your thoughts. You begin to notice how life moves in cycles: destruction, silence, growth, renewal, just like seasons, just like the moon, just like you. Every ending was simply making space for a beginning. Every heartbreak was carving a deeper capacity to love. Every fear was pointing you toward your freedom. You begin to trust, not the world, not the future, not even certainty, but yourself. There's a moment in the turning when you finally exhale and say, I don't need to know where this is going. I just need to trust that I'm going. And that trust becomes your new foundation, not built on perfection, but on presence. You realize that peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's the ability to remain open even while standing in the storm. That freedom isn't about control. It's about surrender. And that love is not something you find. It's what you become when you stop running from yourself. In this chapter of your becoming, you begin to notice the small miracles. The way the morning light hits your window feels like a quiet hello from the universe. The way a stranger smiles at you feels like a reminder that connection never left. The way your own breath fills your lungs feels like forgiveness, as if life itself is whispering, you've made it through. You haven't reached the end, but you've turned the corner. And that turn changes everything. Because when you turn inward, toward acceptance instead of resistance, toward curiosity instead of control, the world outside begins to transform with you. Your relationships shift, your choices evolve, your energy changes, and life, somehow, begins to meet you differently. It's not because the world is different. It's because you are. The turning is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been, beneath fear, beneath roles, beneath the noise. You start to live with intention. You speak with honesty. You walk with humility. And for the first time, you begin to feel the quiet joy of simply being alive. Because now you see, you were never broken. You were breaking open. You are not the storm that tried to destroy you. You are the sky that held it all. And in that vastness, you finally find peace. This is the turning, the moment when you stop surviving and begin living. And as you look around, the horizon glows faintly with the first light of dawn. The night has not fully passed, but you can feel it. Something inside you has changed forever. You are no longer who you were. And yet, you've never been more you. If this content resonates with you, hit the like and subscribe button. We really appreciate your support. Chapter 4. The Becoming. The dawn arrives not with thunder, but with stillness. There is no grand trumpet, no explosion of color, no sudden applause from the heavens. Just a quiet golden light that creeps gently into the spaces that once knew only shadow. And in that light, you begin to see yourself, not as a collection of wounds, but as a masterpiece still unfolding. This is the becoming. You have walked through the fire and learned it was your teacher. You have touched your shadow and discovered it was your guide. You have turned toward your pain and found purpose hidden inside it. Now, as you stand here, something inside you exhales, the long, slow breath of a soul returning home. The questions that once haunted you, who am I? What am I doing here? Begin to fade. Not because you found the perfect answers, but because you no longer need them. You understand now that life was never about control. It was always about connection, to yourself, to others, to everything that exists and breathes alongside you. You realize that you were never separate from life. You were life, learning to recognize itself through you. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the becoming of the true self. It's not about becoming someone better. It's about integrating all that you are, the light, the shadow, the pain, the peace, into one whole, breathing existence. And in that wholeness, you find freedom. You are no longer at war with your past, no longer chasing the future, no longer shrinking to fit old expectations. You begin to walk as someone who has nothing to prove, because you finally understand. You were always enough. You look back now, and the moments that once shattered you begin to make sense. Every heartbreak softened you. Every failure humbled you. Every fear shaped your courage. every ending carved space for beginning. And when you see it all, not as random suffering, but as sacred unfolding, you feel something like peace, something like awe. You start to see how life moves through you, not against you. The pain wasn't the punishment. The pain was the doorway. It's easy to think transformation happens all at once, a single awakening, a single realization, but the truth is gentler. You don't wake up one day as someone new. You slowly grow into the person you were always meant to be, day by day, breath by breath, fear by fear, until one morning you look into the mirror and realize you've become the person you once prayed you could be. Not perfect, not fearless, but real. You've learned that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's walking forward even when fear is still whispering. And now you understand the truth behind the words. Your real life begins where your fear ends. Because fear was never the enemy. It was the threshold. It kept you safe until you were ready to fly. Now, you are ready. The world will still test you. There will still be pain, loss, and uncertainty, but you no longer resist them the same way. Because now, you move through life with a quiet knowing that everything you meet is part of your becoming. When joy comes, you let it fill you. When pain comes, you let it teach you. When fear comes, you meet it with love. You no longer run from your emotions, you listen to them. You no longer chase approval, you rest in authenticity. You no longer wait for the world to change, you become the change. This is freedom. This is consciousness. This is life. And as you stand now, on the edge of everything you've known, you realize you are not at the end. You are standing at the threshold of your next becoming. There will be more breaking, more shadows, more turning, more becoming. But this time, you will not fear it, because now you know, what breaks you also builds you. What frightens you also frees you. What ends is only the beginning in another form. You are not a fixed story. You are a living process, yes, a river, not a rock. And life, in all its mystery, and pain and wonder, flows through you endlessly. So, when you come upon this video, remember, you did not find it by accident. You found it because something inside you was ready to awaken. Because the universe speaks to those who are finally ready to listen. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not lost. You are being rewritten. You are not ending. You are just beginning. And maybe, just maybe, this moment right here, this breath, this heartbeat, is the start of your real life. Because your real life, your truest, brightest, most fearless life, begins where your fear ends. If this message spoke to your heart, let it be a reminder that you're not walking alone. Like this video, if it helped you see yourself a little more clearly, and subscribe so you can walk with us on the next chapter of your journey toward peace, self-understanding, and becoming whole again. Until next time, take care of your soul.